Welcome to another reading. As you can see, today's title is A Dream and a Call to Stay Woke. Woke has got a lot of press in the past 2 or 3 years, and it's got a lot of different interpretations. Its original meaning, from what I've just read, was for African Americans to keep themselves updated on issues related to racial injustice. So to be woke in the Black community in the early to mid 1900s actually meant, and I'm quoting here, and I think it's anyway, this is from the internet. In the Black community means that someone is informed, educated, and conscious of social injustice or equality. And that's what Merriam-Webster dictionary states. So it's a pretty good definition. It's been used a lot by politicians, and I'm not decrying anyone. This is just the way they use them. Let me see, I'm trying to find it here. Woke has been used by several presidential GOP candidates, including former President Donald Trump, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, and Vivek Ramaswamy. Woke is defined by the DeSantis administration as, quote, the belief there are systemic injustices in American society and the need to address them. And that's according to DeSantis' general counsel, as reported to the Washington Post. And if you carry on reading this, DeSantis says we reject woke ideology. So in other words, he says we'll never surrender to the woke agenda. People have come here because of our policies. So depending which side of the fence you're on, you're taking a position as to whether you do or do not believe that there are social injustices built into the American system. I, for one, happen to believe there are injustices built in. I see it on the TV quite often. Obviously, Ron DeSantis and his campaign don't believe that there are social injustices, because since they define woke as referring to social injustice, and then they define woke ideology. So I'm assuming they define woke as something that should be avoided. However, for me, if woke means being aware to what's going on in society, then I'm in total agreement with it. And I don't believe, I know that our spiritual center is in total agreement with it, and lots of other people in the New Thought communities and different churches around the country and the world are aware of social, economic, and other injustices. Well, first quote is from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. You all know who he is, right? Make a career of humanity. Commit yourself to the noble struggle for equal rights. You will make a better person of yourself, a greater nation of your country, and a finer world to live in. And I don't see how anybody could argue with that. Unless, of course, you don't believe there are injustices. And Ernest Holmes, in a book called Ernest Holmes at a Seminar, and it's a huge book. This is from page 311. It's a collection of lectures and essays by Ernest Holmes in the 1950s. He says, consciously and definitely, we now place our hands in the outstretched hand of the infinite, and all fear is gone. And continuing from our series with Reverend Dr. Andriette, Martin Luther King's enduring legacy encompasses leadership, inspiration, and mobilization of the broadest possible constituency against racism and social injustice. In 1968, just as legislation he fought for was finally coming to fruition, he was assassinated. He says, I'm always stunned to recall that he was only 37 years of age. He spent his brief adulthood preaching faith, fairness, dignity, brotherhood, and justice. 18 years after his assassination, his birthday became a national holiday, as I'm sure all of you watching know. Martin Luther King Jr. is remembered and acclaimed for his March on Washington and his I Have a Dream speech. and for his final sermon, in which he declared that he might not get to the mountaintop. He gave an early version of his dream speech at the Walk for Freedom, a mass march in Detroit, Michigan, on June 23, 1963, where demonstrators protested racism, discrimination, segregation, and the brutalization of civil rights activists. It was a dress rehearsal for the March on Washington, which was scheduled for 2 months later. On March 31st, 1968, Dr. King unknowingly preached his last sermon, quote, remaining awake through the Great Revolution. He reminded listeners that Rip Van Winkle slept through the American Revolution. He prophetically spoke of a triple revolution, a technological revolution with the impact of automation and cybernation, a revolution in weaponry with the emergence of atomic and nuclear weapons, and the human rights revolution with the freedom explosion that is taking place all over the world. He implored us not to sleep through these revolutions, saying, quote, many fail to develop the new attitudes, the new mental responses that the new situation demands. They end up sleeping through a revolution. His advice to stay woke serves us well. And as I said, even in Ron DeSantis' definition, it refers to the belief that there are systemic injustices in American society and the need to address them. And that's according to the Washington Post quoting Ron DeSantis' general counsel. And as I said, since Ron DeSantis' group rejects woke ideology, then it's, to me, my interpretation is that they are saying that there isn't anything systemically wrong with American society in certain areas. I don't believe them. I think there is. I see it on TV all the time. You know, the plain fact of the matter is that if I'm driving around the woodlands here, or driving around Houston, probably more likely, or anywhere in these areas, I'm unlikely to be pulled over just because of who I am. Or if it's something minor, there's a real good chance they'll just let me go. Why? Because they perceive I'm a white person. If my wife is driving around, there's a good chance that they won't arrest her either for the same reasons, because she looks white. Unless you get closer up to her, then you can see that she is half Asian, half white. But if she looked the other way around, if she looked more Asian than white, there's a reasonable chance that they would look a lot more closely at her. If I'm driving around with one of my African American friends and they're driving, there is a better chance that we're going to get pulled over for either minor offenses or some excuse to pull us over. It's just a fact of life. If that is not systemic, I don't really know what is. And I'm not blaming the individuals pulling people over. It's been built into the system. We need to teach people that these things are happening. We need to show them, demonstrate it, and then we need to get people on our side to change this. Because look, if we change all of this, we change society for the better. Society becomes better. Individually, we become better. Individually, we gain. And that's really all I'm going to say on this. The affirmation speaks for itself. It says, I choose to be woke and fearless. I choose to be woke and fearless. So I'm just asking you to listen to these readings through the end of this month, through African American History Month or Black History Month, whichever term you prefer to use. Just listen to them. And then just think, how are they impacting you? Are they changing your view on life? Or was this always your view? I don't know. Only you know that. So just bear with us and listen to and then when we come to our soul session later this month, I'll remind you about it. And then you can tune in there. And it's from Creative Life Spiritual Center's Facebook page. Reverend Lisa, my colleague, will be on tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. She will not be talking about any of this. She will be talking definitely about self care, which is really important. And she will be reading from another set of books, which has got nothing to do with what I'm talking about, unless it's just a coincidence. So tune into her, and you'll see that we have a big spectrum of views that we look at. So, as I said, we are Creative Life Spiritual Center. My name is David. I'm a minister there. We often drop the reverent titles. Sometimes we use them in public, sometimes we don't. I usually don't use it, but there you are. So, until next time, take care. Take care especially of yourselves. And please give some thought to these readings. Thank you.